Tina Davis, President, Empire. Shannae Ingleton-Smith, President, CEO, and co-founder, Kensington Gray. Van Jones, founder, Dream Machine, and CNN commentator. And moderator, Isabel Togo, Deputy Editor, News, Forbes.
Thank you so much for joining us. I'm really excited about this panel. So I want to start with storytelling. It's the way that we make meaning of the world around us. And I think one of the biggest shifts we're seeing in media at the moment is this shift away from kind of legacy media, and independent creators, independent journalists even, are becoming more and more important to audiences. So Shannae, I want to ask you, how important do you think independent creators are going to continue to be over the next 5 years? And also for people and professionals in the audience who want to get started creating their own media entities, how should they get started?
So I personally think, well, thank you for the introduction, by the way. I personally think that independent creators are more important now than ever before. We need more and more people who have an allegiance to nothing but the absolute truth. And we're seeing it, every single day. I'm getting a lot of my news on TikTok. I get my news through traditional media. I know we're, on a panel with Forbes, but a lot of traditional and legacy media, they have allegiances to places that, result in a filtered perception of what's actually true, or the filtered truth. And so we need people who are just committed to the truth and nothing else. And honestly, when it comes to starting, you just gotta start. Document what's already happening, get a tripod, get an iPod or an iPhone, and just start talking face to camera and sharing your story. And there's no one who can do you better than you. And that's honestly, authenticity is the best way to sort of break through the noise and break through the algorithm. And that's the advice that I give everyone. Start and figure out, where your space is, and your people will find you.
Speaking of...
Amen.
So speaking of Black-owned media entities, The Root just returned to Black ownership after being purchased by Ashley Allison. Yes. Your colleague, Van, at CNN. And in buying the publication, she said, "This isn't about making more content, but rather about making meaning of this moment, when journalism is under attack and audiences are seeking independent sources for news." So I want to start with you, Van, and then Marcus. If you were a business strategist for The Root right now, what direction do you think a Black-owned news company and media company should be going in? And how does it serve a readership that's politically divided?
Well, first, I think the most important thing about The Root being taken over by Ashley is not that she's Black, it's that she's Black and brilliant.
Yeah.
She is going to do things that are going to shock people. She is, I knew her from Obama administration days. She cares. She's deeply rooted in our community and our concerns. And she's going to do amazing things. In my conversations with her, I think part of what's going on is the dehumanization of Black people. If we were here 5 years ago, well, first of all, it would have been a pandemic. We probably would have been on Zoom, but it would have been all about Black Lives Matter and everybody putting up their, squares and their things and making all these false pledges of support. 5 years later, you can't even say the word Black without, being woke and DEI and CRT, and you might lose your funding. So in that very short period of time, we've been completely dehumanized. And our stories, Black women, the backbone of the Black middle class, especially college-educated Black women who are getting Doge cut in the hundreds of thousands, it's not even a news story. And so I think that telling the human story of what's going on, everybody knows what's going on in the White House, but what's happening in our houses, what's really going on, that will bring us back to ourselves and then back to our strength, and then from there we can move on together. And that will happen because of who is in charge of The Root.
I think if I was giving The Root some advice, I would start with, what's the point of view of the brand? Because they have like a pretty audacious goal, an ambition to capture black culture. But black culture isn't a monolith. It's many cultures. And like white media gets the privilege of saying, we're talking to white people like this, to these white people, those white people, and the broader populace. But black media, like a BET, has to be responsible for all the many permutations of blackness. I think that's an unfair and probably unrealistic expectation. So for The Root first, I would say, as a brand, what do you believe? How do you see the world? What's the ideology that's guiding what you're doing? Because you're not just black media, there's a point of view that you have on what it means to be black and the black experience in the United States or the diaspora more broadly. So the question first is, what do you believe? How do you see the world? And use that as the curatorial lens that informs all the stories that you tell through the black experience that is aligned and congruent with that perspective. And then you target the people who see the world the way you do. Whether it's HBCU culture, whether it's the Kojic culture, whether it's Jack and Jill, no shade, whatever the case may be, whatever those different permutations, the pinata of experiences that is blackness, whatever that be, they should be very specific on the stories they're telling through that lens and serve them with great integrity.
Yeah. Tina, so one absolutely dominant engine of storytelling for black communities has been hip hop, and we celebrated 50 years of hip hop 2 years ago, an art form that has been instrumental in driving creative and economic success for our communities. And you've kind of talked about how the art form is really rooted in a sense of authenticity, which is the word of the moment. You know, everyone is wanting to show their authentic selves, and that's what we really value. But you've spoken a little bit about how the industry has shifted to artists sounding more and more like each other. We're now starting to value authenticity again. So how does a creator or an artist balance that desire to be authentic, but also that real need to make money and to appease corporate interests?
Well, I think it's not about selling out, for sure, right? I think it's important, to your point, the authenticity. Hip-hop started with talking about what was happening in their neighborhoods, in their ghetto. Russell used to call it the CNN of the ghetto, right? So going back to that is what I feel the audience is needing, wanting, and needing to learn from. I think it's important that artists, of course, yeah, there is a trend, there is something that's going on now. You can always take a piece of that into what you're doing. But for the most part, people are looking for things that are authentic, that are different than what's happening every day. They want real topics. They want to hear about things that are happening in their neighborhoods, not just what's happening in the hood, so to speak, right? So I think there's also this resurgence now of Christian rap that's really permeating through the industry right now, and not even just in America, it's all over the world. But I think it's really truly about being truly still authentic, but making it palatable for those who like to have the same type of things going on, having a little piece of that, but being true to yourself.
Yeah. And on that point of being true to yourself, so Empire was really early in partnering with Shabuzi and in discovering him, and he's a truly unique artist. He speaks across artistry and across different music genres as well, in particular country. How did you know to invest in Shabuzi at the time that you did?
I've been doing A&R and in the music business for 30 plus years. And when you create talent or you look for talent, if you're an A&R and you're looking for what's working right now, you're late. So you have to think about where music is going in the next 5 to 6 years. So when Shabuzi walked in the room, 6'5", Nigerian African-American with wicks in his head, the first thing I thought was, okay, what does his music sound like? How creative is he? No disrespect, is he a little bipolar? To be honest, I kind of feel that is part of being a creator. So those things that I pay attention to, he had them. And he took the air out of the room, but he's true to who he is. He's not trying to be country, he is country. And country music started with black music. I feel all music is black music. It started from black music. So when he walked in, it was just true to what he really was and what I wanted to see. I knew the music business and the industry and country specifically had to catch up, because there's been a Darius Rucker, there's been, several different artists, but he was through and through urban, country, hip hop, and R&B all together. And we have to get back to that. And I knew that we needed to be early and also deal with him and build the confidence in him and going into a genre that doesn't always represent him and love him.
Yeah, yeah. So back to you, Shannae. You've built a powerhouse with Kensington Gray and really encouraging and helping creators to leverage their brands to create partnerships and business deals. And you also started out as a creator. So what's one thing you've learned from running Kensington Gray that you didn't know when you were solely a creator? And then also, what do you find now that brands really value? Because I think we talk about creators who have big followings and millions and millions of followers, but for you, it's not really just about that. It's about the relationships that you build along the way, right?
Yes, absolutely. So one thing that I think is a big misconception with creators is that the people with the most followers aren't usually the people who are making the most money. It's actually the people with the strongest relationships and who have the most repeat clients that are making the most money. Janae Naylor is a great example of that. She was on the panel yesterday. We invested in a business with her. We started a business with her. Her biggest platform has about 500,000 followers. And she, within the first 3 weeks of business, ended up driving $600,000 in sales. It really only takes 10,000 people to spend $100 with you to make $1 million. And there are a lot of people who have huge audiences, people who are there with their popcorn, but they're not there to actually invest in you. So the difference between the ones who are able to really build something substantial and the ones who don't are the ones who truly have community. People who have intimacy with the people that are following them, they're the ones who go the furthest. And people who will actually take their time and their hard-earned dollars and invest them into you, the more you have of that, the more successful that you will be.
That's well said.
And that's what clients are looking for too.
Yeah, that's well said. Now, on the notion of having a platform, we know that comes with expectation and responsibility, that you have a sense of responsibility to your followers and to people who are looking at you. But we also know that hot takes are the currency on social media. And so, Van, I want to start with you, but you're all public figures in media, and Van, as a political commentator, I want to ask you, how should creators and public figures in the media handle public scrutiny and handle this kind of environment where what you say in the public arena can be clipped and put online for people to critique? How should our audience also, what do you have to tell them about how to handle that public scrutiny?
Well, I wouldn't know anything about that. Well, listen, it's a tough job, but you got to take the good with the bad. How many people here have sent a text message to somebody and then gone back and edited it, made an edit on it? All right? Okay, I can't do that. I do live television. That is real ammo, live ammo, real time, high wire, no net, no do-over. And so so there's only two ways to do it. One is to play directly to your own base and not say anything that's going to get you in trouble. In other words, to violate your principle around truth. The difference with content creators, you can do 5 takes, 10 takes. Your truth is truth take number 19. You decided to post. That's your truth. My truth is real time with millions of people watching. And so I think you have to make a decision. Do you want to play it safe, or do you want to actually try to challenge your audience? If you're going to try and challenge your audience, that means you got to love yourself a lot. This is not a game to play if you're looking for the likes to be your source of your self-like. And so I would encourage anybody who's doing this is most of the work is off camera. Most of the work is in prayer, it's in meditation, it's in self-forgiveness, it's in forgiving other people. Most of the work is not on camera. And so then when you get on camera, if you want to accept people giving you a check and clapping when you get it right, you have to accept them booing when you get it wrong. It's completely unrealistic and unfair to be a public figure and only want people to notice when you get it right. And then to be mad when people notice when you get it wrong. That is not how it works. And so I think that increasingly with streaming, more and more people are gonna be living their lives online anyway. So self-love, self-forgiveness, self-grace is important. And then what I would encourage is also grace for the person that you just saw mess up. Because the reality is you mess up every day, except you get a chance to make that delete, you get a chance to make that edit, and we don't.
So, Tina, I want to go back to this idea of when you have a large platform, often, or any platform, you will start coming into situations where brands, businesses will approach you, and then you'll start striking brand deals, or maybe you'll launch your own business off your platform. You will then come into some kind of windfall. What should a creator be doing with that first big paycheck?
Save it. Sorry, go ahead.
Don't buy a chain.
Thank you.
Buy things that appreciate. You have to invest it, save it. You have to make sure that there is something to fall back on. My father always says you gotta have that rainy day savings account. You have to have that rainy day. A lot of times because of the fact that they were taught that wealth is in buying designer clothing, buying a car, or buying homes, it is great to buy real estate. But sometimes they live above their means. You just have to be smart with your money and realize that that is not the only check you're going to get, but if it is, you need to be able to take care of yourself and your family. Yeah. So the smartest thing is to not go buy that chain, not go buy the most expensive car because you have to fit in. Unfortunately, in our culture, a lot of times they think that wealth is in that, and it truly isn't.
If I may, I would say always, if you can, ask for equity ownership. Sometimes creators or public figures, they're the lifeline for these brands. And when you think of successful brands like Fenty, when you think of different opportunities, like I think Allen Iverson, he had a deal with Reebok where he had to put a certain amount aside for several years before he could have access to it, and that gave him long-term wealth and things like that. I think make the difference between that money, that fast cash that just goes right out the door, and you being able to actually build a legacy and something that you can pass down to your children and to your family. And you'd be surprised at the amount of brands that are open to it, especially the startups. They're open to give 10, maybe 15% of equity in exchange for you endorsing the brand and supporting the brand. Ask those questions, because you'd be surprised at what the answer is in exchange.
Yeah, Michael did it.
Michael Jordan, exactly.
Michael Jordan did it. Yeah. Jason Weaver did it with Simba, with the song. His mother required that he not get a check, but actually have equity in it. So he's still getting paid to this day.
Excellent advice. So Marcus, I want to ask you, at a time when corporates, companies are facing a lot of pressure from the government, and I'm sure existentially they're asking themselves about this, they're facing pressure to pull back on DEI commitments. Mm-hmm. And so I want to know, how can marketers and creators reclaim this narrative, and also beyond our community, that Black stories are not only worth highlighting, but that drive and also originate culture?
I think it's twofold. The first is that this is a matter of convenience and conviction. There are brands who stuck their neck out to Van's point, saying we're for Black people and we're all the things, and the minute that it became inconvenient, they pulled back, they flinched. And we saw that that's not real. It's not a real thing. Conviction, on the other hand, is that regardless of the matter, I'm gonna stand 10 toes down because I believe it. Even when it's hot, even if it means I'm gonna lose customers, I'm here for it. And we've seen brands do this in meaningful ways. I mean, Ben & Jerry was acquired by Unilever. These guys are all about activism. They end up suing their parent company because they felt like they were quieting their activism. So much so that Jerry, one of the founders, was like, I'm quitting. Like, this is true conviction. So brands have to start there. Secondly, what it means for Black stories. I mean, what we have to really realize is that innovation comes from marginalization. The most innovative people, the most creative groups of people come from making lemonade out of lemons. And in this country, there aren't very many people more marginalized and oppressed than Black people. That's why we cook the best, the music sound the best, our vibes are best, we dress better, we talk better, we act better, our swag is better. Everything comes from us because we are coming from a place with less and therefore we make more out of it. Innovation comes out of these spaces. And if marketers want to innovate, if they want to put things in the world that actually moves the world forward, then they have to do it in collaboration with the creators. And this is an interesting thing when we talk about culture. Brands often talk about tapping into culture and jumping in on culture and hijacking culture. That is an exploitative stance, right? Think about a tap. A tap goes to a tree and pulls out its resources. That's exploitative. The idea then is we have to see culture as a place to give, not a place to take, a place to contribute as a place to take away from. And when we see Black expressions, Black cultural production through that lens, brands, marketers, creators go, how do I contribute to this? Such that the stories that we tell aren't just their stories, but they're our stories because we are a part of it. America knows this well because the American history is Black history, yet it's seen as an exploitative project that the country has undergone for centuries. Yeah. Marketers are experiencing that same thing today. We use Black music, we use Black bodies, we use Black expressions, we use Black projections. And if that be the case, if it has pushed us forward this much as a commercial entity, then we are obligated to pay homage and pay respect to the humans that actually made those things happen.
Well said.
Before we go, I want to say something, but that was good.
Oh, okay.
That was
Yeah,
good.
no, don't worry. I really do want to go into this because speaking of innovation, Van, you're really bullish on AI and you are making it widely accessible through your nonprofit Dream Machine Innovation Lab. You've also gone on to say that AI might be the closest thing that Black people will get to reparations, and you really believe in it as a tool of economic and creative advancement. So I really want to ask you, there's a lot of skepticism about AI. How do you communicate that it's a tool and a technology to be curious about instead of fearful of?
Well, look, I mean, Black people are threat sensitive for a reason. Most stuff is not designed with us in mind, and this was not. But what I would say is that we also should be opportunity sensitive. When you have a disruption wave like this, it does things that are unexpected. And there's an opportunity for us to actually dominate. People go, we don't want to be left behind. No, screw that. We want to dominate. Yeah. We want to dominate. And so you have multiple trillion-dollar industries that are all taking off at the same time. AI, quantum computing, biotech, blockchain, space exploration. I mean, these are multiple trillion-dollar industries. Mostly, we haven't entered them yet. But a disruption wave is going to tear the floor out from under everything that exists. That's the scary part. It's going to tear, every industry is going to be disrupted. So that means the floor is going to be torn out. But the ceiling is going to be torn off too. The ceiling is going to be torn off. So you can fly or fall based on your own effort. And the reason I'm excited is because people say, Van, how can you be so excited about AI? 99.9% of Black people don't know anything about AI. 99.9% of Black people know nothing about AI. I say that's true. And 99.9% of white folk don't know anything about AI either. That's right. That's called equality, okay? That's called equality. This is the first time in my life I have ever experienced actual equality. We all equally ignorant about the same thing. Now, to go to the brother's point, the reason I was about to jump out my chair and hug this brother is because who are the most innovative people in the history of the world?
That's right.
We are the most innovative, the most creative. We have done so much for so long with so little, we can damn near do anything with nothing. And now you're going to give us the most powerful creative tools ever and expect us to lose? No. No, not at all. The reality is we are most likely to dominate. We took 2 turntables and a microphone. That's technology.
That's right. That's right.
Yes, we did.
But because we didn't have the programs in the schools, we turned that into a global art form that is now bigger than any other art form. We will do the same with AI. I guarantee you. They need our minerals from Africa. Vibranium is real. They need cobalt, that's African. They need copper, that's African. It's African minerals that's gonna power this thing, and African genius is gonna dominate this thing, I guarantee you.
Yes.
Could honestly talk about this for hours. But Van, Shannae, Tina, and Marcus, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So great.